Thank you very much, Mr. Naidu, for joining us here on ENCA. We appreciate your time. Magashule, going before the Integrity Commission, is it going to change anything or is it just window dressing?
Well, I think the key issue that the governing party, the African National Congress, has to deal with is the issue of accountability. As the governing party, it has a responsibility to set the ethical and moral tone for government, for South Africa, for the people of South Africa. And how it deals with this matter and other matters relating to people that have been implicated in corruption and state capture is going to be a critical signal for the ANC to say to the people of South Africa, we are governing according to the constitutional prescripts of transparency, accountability, openness, and where people have crossed the line, they will be held to account. And I think that's the message South Africans are looking for. This is, of course, an internal ANC matter that's playing out before the ANC's Integrity Commission today. But as the governing party, it's difficult to separate the action that the ANC might take or not take in regard to Mr. Magashule from the message that it sends to South Africa in terms of the governance principles that guide it.
The Integrity Commission has in the past been accused of being toothless. Do you expect a strong stance against the SG of the party?
Well, my understanding is that the Integrity Commission makes recommendations, and those have to be dealt with by the structures of the ANC, the National Executive Committee, and so on, the bodies that have the authority to take decisions. So, you know, this is a process that the ANC has chosen to set out. It has a group of respected elders within the Integrity Commission who are, in some respects, the custodians of the values and principles of the liberation struggle. And it's those values and principles that need to come to the fore and to be able to draw a line and say that this is conduct that is unbecoming of a senior member of the ANC, if that is what they decide. And then it's going to be up to the NEC to decide how they implement that recommendation, if such a recommendation were to emerge from the Integrity Commission.
We've heard a lot of ANC officials for years, especially, for instance, the veterans saying, speak to your conscience, do the right thing, step aside while investigations continue. The ANC themselves, the highest structure of the ANC, taking a decision at that 54th conference in Nasrec, saying if you are facing charges, step aside while investigations continue. Is Magashule being defiant?
Well, look, as I say, that's really an issue for the ANC to resolve in terms of its own constitution and how it wants to portray itself to the people of South Africa. We've heard, commitments from the leadership of the ANC, from the president, other leading members of the ANC, that this is the time to root out corruption, to ensure that there is accountability. And the culture of impunity must come to an end, and they've got to stick to that. But on the other side, we're dealing with the issue of the moral and ethical stance of the ANC, but there's also the legal liability, and Mr. Magashule has been charged with fraud and corruption and will face those charges in court in February of next year. And I think that's really the issue where South Africans need to be focusing, because that's where real consequences will emanate from. A robust judicial process to ensure an outcome as to whether or not Mr. Magashule and his co-accused are guilty or not guilty, and face consequences, therein. That's the real test of accountability, a real test of the resurgent law enforcement agencies exercising their mandates properly to root out corruption, to root out fraud, and other, what may be called crimes against the state.
Taking firm action as the NEC against Ace Magashule this week, for instance, the national spokesperson of the ANC saying, praising the Secretary General for taking himself to the Integrity Commission. Doesn't this also just put the party into disrepute or make it just hop through a lot of legal loops?
Well, the ANC has chosen a path that it wants to follow, and it will have to follow through on those processes. And, South Africans and the electorate will judge the ANC on how they deal with critical issues like this. We've seen, as I said just now, we've seen renewed commitments to fight corruption. President Ramaphosa's administration is premised on this fight against corruption. clean up governance, to undo the damage of the 9 wasted years. And, I think South Africans now want to see action. And, if the ANC don't take action, that will be sending a message to the people of South Africa that perhaps they're not that serious. And, this equivocation on the issue of holding people to account is something I think South Africans are increasingly tired of.
And of course, the Secretary General facing criminal charges, 21 criminal charges in court, is something that we've never seen in South Africa, is Magashule being the first. But of course, him saying he's more than happy to go through the trial so that he can take out the names of other people who are corrupt. Isn't that also sort of a way of showing that he'll be wasting some time? It's probably going to be a very long court case with appeals probably featuring in there.
Well, we've seen this movie before, haven't we, when people face charges and abuse the legal system to string out processes. But, if Mr. Magashule has evidence of other people that are involved in acts of criminality and in particular of corruption, he is obliged in terms of the anti-corruption legislation to report those crimes and misdemeanors. So, using them as political threats is one thing, but he must also realize that there is a legal responsibility, and failure to report acts of corruption itself constitutes a criminal offense.
Definitely. Thank you very much for your time. That's Lawson Naidoo from the Council for the Advancement of the South African Constitution.